All right,
Let's do
welcome Adam Scully.
What's
to
up,
the
man?
Puzhitsky podcast.
Holy, long
dude, it's
time
been a while.
coming.
Literally, it's been years.
Yeah. It's been a long
TSN
time.
host, Golf Talk Canada. You guys can catch him on your TV talking about Tiger Woods or whatever. That's crazy, man. When did we meet? We met at, again, Bayview Golf Club when I was like, I was just like 14 years old when I came, but
How old are you now?
25. So like 10 years ago.
You're only 25. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was a young gun. I always felt cool hanging out with you guys.
Well, when he made the hole-in-one in 2020, which I'm sure we'll get into.
You witnessed the whole, you and Gavin, right?
Do you remember what happened? Do you remember that hole?
My hole in one. I remember. I was looking at the ball the other day. I had it was a shitty Bridgestone ball.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, so this was May of 2020, I think. So COVID was obviously a big thing.
Yeah.
Maybe May or June, whatever it was.
It was May. It was definitely May. I don't remember the year.
And we had probably 3 or 4 rounds where we would tee off at like 4:30.
Yeah.
And it was still light for a long time.
Yeah.
It was you, Gavin, McQueenie.
Mm-hmm.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Also getting married. You were getting married.
Congrats.
Things are happening here.
Yeah.
Anyway, 3 of us. So we tee off at 4:30. We got to play relatively quick to get through it, right? 12th hole. It's already like kind of dark-ish, a little dark, and you hit the shot like right at it. We're like, that might be pretty good, dude.
Oh yeah.
And then we look and we're like, oh my God, it's in the hole. And then like the last 6 holes, I remember like speed walking because we have to make sure you got the rounded.
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
it technically a hole in one.
Yeah, and then I still shot like 82
That's
or something.
fine.
Yeah,
Dude, that's fine. When I made my first one in 05,
yeah.
10th hole, I went birdie, triple, ace. I was even through 3.
And it was in May. We had a good summer, bro.
Oh my God.
Because the hole in one package, every club, usually a part of your membership, you get like a hole in one package at Bayview. You get 100 drink tickets.
Yeah.
And the idea is you give those drink tickets away. We had 2 things going for us. We had the fact that it was like late at night, so nobody was there.
Yeah.
And then we also had the fact that it was COVID.
And no one could hang around.
No one could hang around. Like, I don't even know if the bar was open, right?
No.
It was just halfway house.
I remember there was a round a month later maybe, and we're walking on the first hole and you hand me 4 beers and you're like, if you don't drink these today, you're not my friend. I was like,
okay. I do. I think that was on the first tee. We were just about to tee off. I just come with 4 beers because I just have one pocket in my bag dedicated to drink tickets.
Yeah.
We have a summer, dude. I still have like 3 drink tickets in my they gave me a plaque. I still have we didn't go through all of them. No. It's a lot of drinks.
It's a lot of drinks
for just you, me, Raph, and Gavin basically, and then like whoever would. But the good thing is you can use them on Gatorades and whatever. But we weren't exactly worried about staying hydrated. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's unreal, bro. That was
God.
a lot of drinks for a summer.
Yeah, that's
funny. But yeah, and then. So now you were like working for TSN at that point. So I see you on Golf Talk Canada all the time now. So let us know a little bit about like how that happened, right? What would you do in school? And then how'd you work your way up to being a broadcaster on TSN?
Yeah. So long story short, I mean, I was a hockey player growing up. I was playing hockey.
Nice. Don't worry. I peed myself.
Anyway, I played hockey growing up. Always wanted to be in broadcasting. I quit before grade 12 playing. Went to a school here in Toronto called the College of Sports Media, where you learn everything in sports media, from writing to on-camera, radio, camera work, editing. You learn everything. It's a 2-year program. Really enjoyed that. Got an internship at TSN through that. So that would have been, I was in school. I graduated high school in 2010, and a lot of people at that school used it as a post undergrad, or they would as a career change. So I was in school at 18 with like 23-year-olds, 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got an internship at TSN in October 2011 during my second year, and then through that got another internship at TSN on the television side in 2012. Where I was working behind the scenes, writing highlight packs, working the teleprompter, working the ticker.
Was this all golf specific or just whatever?
This is everything. Okay. Yeah. So my first ever highlight pack that I wrote was curling.
Oh, nice.
I used to curl, so I know curling decently well. But, so this is everything in sports.
That must have been captivating stuff.
Very captivating.
Yeah.
That and NASCAR. I was doing a lot of NASCAR, and I don't know about you, but I've had to watch a lot of 5-hour NASCAR races where they turn left for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's insane.
Not exactly riveting, but hey,
No.
there's a lot of NASCAR fans.
What does that do to your neck? Because I know the F1. I'm not super. Other than after the Netflix documentary,
Yeah.
I've watched some of those. I know they train their necks because of the G forces. If you're only turning one way, you must have one side of your neck is just fucking
it's got
insane.
Rinsed, right?
Yeah, it looks like Bane's forearm, and then the other side is
But no, so did a lot of that, and then what they would do at TSN and still do is like they know what your strengths are. So I was a hockey player growing up. I know hockey very well.
Right.
And then obviously there's golf. So I started doing some golf writing, like would write highlights for the Masters, for the US Open, Ryder Cup, that sort of thing. And then this opportunity came really not really out of nowhere. I started working on the show called Golf Talk Canada.
Right.
Just as someone behind the scenes, doing some writing, helping an editor like put some montages together, that sort of thing. And then August of 2016, the producer left. I think she went to Ireland with her boyfriend, I want to say, and moved. And they took a chance on me. At the time, I was 2016, so I was 24, I guess. Yeah, 24. And I was a little green going into it, producing a show, because I'd never done that on TV. I'd produced radio for a number of years, but not TV.
Yeah. So what does that mean, producing?
It's a great question. So basically, let's say Scotty Scheffler has a historic season.
Yeah.
Like we're about to do our year in review show. So I decide what we're going to talk about, how long we're going to talk about it, and what it's going to look like. So if you're watching a TV show and see a couple of talking heads, it might be fine. It might be kind of boring.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about Scotty Scheffler, if we show you a 2.5 minute montage of him winning 7 times and an Olympic gold, and then show you a graphic with how good this season was, how he led in 25 categories in the PGA Tour, and then go to us talking about why he was so good and incorporate video, then it would sort of, for lack of a better term, make it sexier. Make it better TV. So I started doing that producing. It was August of 2016. It was the week of the Rio Olympics.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
2016. That's when Zika virus was a thing.
That was the first one that the Olympics was back
for golf.
Golf was back in the Olympics for
Justin Rose
in like 100 years or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I did that behind the scenes, and then obviously I'm on the air now. And my big break was COVID.
Nice.
Because so March of 2020, it was the week of the Players Championship. Obviously one of the big events in the world of golf. And our other hosts, Mark Zecchino and Bob Weeks, were in Florida at the Players covering it. And obviously they weren't allowed to fly back.
Yeah.
Well, no, they could still fly back, but they couldn't come in the studio.
Right.
Because they had to quarantine.
Yeah.
And so I was in Canada, obviously. And so I got to go in the studio. And then from there, I started hosting because they couldn't. And then that was really sort of the new age of like doing stuff on Zoom.
Yeah.
We still do stuff. Like all of our radio shows we do now are mostly from home.
Yeah.
Where we're on a Zoom call. We got mics like this.
Yeah.
We're just looking at each other.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just sort of spiraled and got more and more reps, more experience hosting with Golf Talk Canada. And so that was March of 2020. We did a bunch of video podcasts during COVID. And now with our other hosts, Mark and Bob, their travel schedules, especially Mark, he works on the PGA Tour,
right?
On both PGA Tour Live and radio. So he's on the road for 25 weeks a year.
Yeah, that's insane.
Which is wild. And then so that's Golf Talk Canada, and then obviously there's Sports Center too.
So now you're a full-time host.
So my title with Golf Talk Canada is host and producer.
Okay.
So I still produce the shows.
Yeah.
Which I like because it gives me the ability to decide what we're going to talk about.
Right.
And then I'm the guy asking the questions.
And at this point, you have a decent amount of experience doing that too, right? So it's probably because, I guess the producer would, whatever you decide, it's your creative vision, essentially. You have a huge, you leave your footprint on the show, so to speak,
totally
extremely.
Yeah. And it's great now. We're so fortunate to have great partners and TaylorMade and Adidas. We get to go on
that's sick.
Some really cool trips.
I always see your stories like, thanks TaylorMade for this get up. And there's just clubs and
it's a cool, I have to pinch myself, honestly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And even we did something last year, and we're doing a lot more stuff heading into next year, which we shot a couple weeks ago in California, where we're actually filming club fittings. Which we got, TrackMan or some sort of simulator set up, or our launch monitor set up and mic'd up, and we're comparing drivers and new stuff. And so that's something we never really did. And last year we did one for an iron and wedge fitting for me.
Nice.
Looking at the specs and how it changes, and that stuff we'll continue to do more so this year too.
Yeah. I got my iron and wedge fitting is, I have a buddy from the UFT golf team. His name is Gordy, and I just get his, whenever he gets new clubs.
That's perfect.
I get his old set. So I'm rocking Mizuno's now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited. It's not as high tech as yours, but
hey, I mean,
good
irons,
deal.
like, yeah, I mean,
it's all about feel, right?
Dude, totally. And it's so expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
Like, to buy the same driver, Rory McIlroy or Xander Schauffele or any of these guys with head and shaft, like,
yeah,
you're spending $1,200.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, at least.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I'll tell you, like, you remember my driver that you probably remember is that ping with the bright yellow, the hazardous shaft.
Yeah.
So I had that up until like even this year. So I had it all of last year. This year was my first year that I upgraded drivers. And the way that I did it was I went to, what was it? It was in Mississauga. Yes, Modern Golf Mississauga. Mm-hmm. And that's their outlet store. So they have, and I got a TSI head.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, okay, between a few heads, like TSI 3 or something, the mid one. So there's like the forgiving one, the tour one, and then in between.
Yeah.
I got that one. That one was working well. And then I was like, okay, give me all the shafts you have. I took like 2 hours in the TrackMan. At this time, I was working for marketing.
Yeah.
Somewhere, and I went to lunch. I took a long lunch, and I took 2 hours in the TrackMan, and I just figured out what works best based on the numbers, and boom. And the difference it made was insane, because I had the Ping G. That was from like 15, something like that, to the TSI, because now the newer one is they have the GT now, and then the TSR. So it's only like a few years old.
Yeah.
But like I was hitting these little like spinny phase, and then like the difference when I took it out to the course was insane. Like
10, 15 yards?
Yeah, literally, probably even more, like 20 yards.
Like
and just consistency, right? And then because of that, you have a little more confidence, so you swing a little faster, and that adds to it.
And we like to swing hard.
Yeah, we like to swing hard. Yeah. We like to hit. Because at this point, I don't care anymore. I'm not competing.
Holy
All I care about is, having fun and hitting a few bombs. That's all what it's all about.
Yeah.
So it made a huge difference. But that's kind of how I got fitted. I fit myself, bro.
Hey, I mean,
DIY.
if you're a smart guy, so you know the ball flight, and as long as you can track, you can trust the simulator.
The numbers,
most of them are pretty good now.
Yeah.
With TrackMan or GC Quad, that sort of thing.
For sure. So actually, a good question I want to ask you, because you're a young guy, so you probably keep up with all the golf content out there now, and there's a lot of it. And you're more on the let's call it the legacy media kind of golf. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because for lack of a better term. So there's those two sides. And actually, so COVID was your big break, but it was also a lot of people started, podcasts and this.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the golf industry blew off of COVID too, because it was, first of all, the game exploded, period.
In a big way.
People got into it. And then people started making content, and now it's huge. There's people, it's not even a stretch to say there's so many golf content creators that are making a lot more money than these guys that are just dirty, like on tour, right? Not the Rory McIlroys, but
totally.
There's guys making a lot more money off of content than a lot of guys on the PGA tour.
Yeah.
Put it that way. So what is and you've like collaborated with content creators too, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the difference? I know, so say you produce the show, right? So it's like a larger ship to steer, right?
Totally.
Versus the kind of flexibility of golf content, positive and negatives to each one. What do you think stands out about what you do? And do you ever want to, did your Golf Talk Canada, TSN, huge network, did you guys have to adapt to the way that the content is being created now?
We're sort of adapting now.
Yeah.
So we did something last year, and we filmed another one in Cali about a month ago. We're doing these 3-hole matches. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, you watch Spit and Chicklets.
Yeah.
You watch Foreplay. You watch Mac Boucher, who's a good buddy of mine.
Even Bryson now, pros getting into it.
Well, Bryson's the big one.
Yeah.
Dude, Bryson, I mean, he had all those years where he was this hated guy, and now I was at the US Open at Pinehurst.
Everybody loves him, yeah.
Everyone loves him. Yeah. And his content now, Trump, Phil, John Daly, gassing 21 beers, whatever, Daly did. I mean, Bryson had chocolate milk. And
Yeah,
even
yeah.
what Bryson's doing now, hitting golf balls over his house, trying to make a hole in one.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people are relating to that. So we're trying to do more stuff, like more match type stuff. And I have found, because I also run Golf Talk social media channels, whenever, I mean, we could have a 9-hour conversation on the algorithm itself. Because sometimes it can be a little spicy.
Yeah.
But whenever I post stuff from our account on a golf course, when it's us actually playing golf, it's us sort of giving each other the gears playing golf, it gets way more traction. So we're trying to morph maybe a little bit into it.
Yeah.
Like we're doing more segments with a Sarah Winter or a Mac.
Right.
Or Micah Morris, I think his name is, who is a TaylorMade guy. And even like, Grant Horvat's got this huge channel.
Yeah. Good or whatever.
Good.
Is that Grant Horvat?
He was there.
Oh, okay.
And now he's got his own deal.
Yeah.
Wesley and George Bryan. So we're trying to morph more into that. Like we went from a very traditional Sports Center air quote style of show on Golf Talk Canada. Now we still do a lot of that, but we're trying to we're adapting to the space, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, because it is interesting because you guys have like they serve. They're completely different things, but at the same time, you guys kind of serve the same audience, right?
Totally.
And it's just golf media, golf content, right? And now I don't know, I'm sure there is. If you look at your analytics versus like somebody like I wonder actually Bryson's page, like biggest YouTuber in golf right now, or content creator, versus who watches your stuff for maybe a more in-depth analysis. Because like when the Masters rolls around, right? Maybe I'll listen to one of the golf podcasts to see their no laying up. But I honestly myself I get a little tired of their it's just like I have these conversations with my buddy my buddies myself, right? We watch TSN and then we talk about it. We hit the talking points while we're playing golf. It's a little bit of the and sometimes it's refreshing because it is so loose, right? And it does feel like it almost like to me when I listen to a podcast, what I enjoy more is the lack of formality. It feels like I'm in the living room talking to the guys, right? Whereas obviously with TSN, it's a proper show. The production is high value, all that stuff, and there's huge value to that. And I'm sure like different kinds of people watch it. I wonder, it's interesting to think about how the numbers kind of match up and where stuff is going. But I still think, obviously, with the PGA Tour and Live, it's a good example. Like PGA Tour, right? Who did you say? Like one of your hosts works for the PGA Tour, Mark Zucchino, right? So I feel like the PGA Tour now leans more towards that kind of, and even they didn't they do just now like an influencer tournament?
Yeah, they did the Creator Classic.
Yeah, the Creator Classic. So they're trying to adapt as well. Do you think, how much do you think that is because of Live that they're trying to do that?
That's a good question. I mean, it's part of it. Yeah. I mean, Live has had a huge impact with dollars in itself too. I mean, like these signature events, they weren't a thing before Live came in, and Live has made a big impact. I think with the creating stuff too, like they're seeing what Phil's got stuff on social now. I mean, Phil's Mickelson's social media has been hilarious forever. And now he's doing more. Bryson too. So I think Live is impacting that a little bit. I mean, let's hope there's a day soon where
they merge. Yeah,
where they merge. And
Trump said he'll help with that.
Apparently, that's you get the deal done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that, but I mean, he's very involved, and obviously he's a decent golfer himself. But like, I was live on TV when that news came down, June 6, 2023. I'll never forget that.
I remember that. Yeah.
But it had that viral reaction where it was sort of like is this really happening? But it's a fascinating time. But I gotta say, Live probably has something to do with the Creator Classic. But
I mean, I know you have to say a little more neutral because of your job, but I have no doubt. I think that without Live, realistically, the PGA Tour was kind of a monopoly, right? It had control over. So what they said, I don't know exactly what the rules are, but I know that if Bryson was playing on tour, I don't know if he would have been able. Are they allowed to make YouTube channels like that and be as?
No.
No, exactly. So that wouldn't have even been a thing, right? Imagine. And
I don't think so. Well, you couldn't post. There was stuff with posting your own content,
right,
I think.
right,
But that sort of changed, and then there's this whole TGL thing starting,
right,
the Tiger and Rory Simulator
right, right.
League.
What's even going on with that? That was
Yeah, so they was supposed to start last year, and then the stadium collapsed.
oh shit. Okay.
No one, I don't think anyone got hurt,
Yeah.
but now it's like, so that starts in January. It's a simulator, but you're hitting like 35-yard shots on real grass.
Yeah.
I'm still very intrigued about it.
Yeah.
Like people have said, oh, this is sort of like the PGA Tours live sort of thing because it's team golf and it's quirky.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, obviously they're doing things to try to adapt.
You have to.
Right? They're trying things.
Yeah,
Even if this is, and honestly, it sounds like it probably will be a bit of a wash, but
I'm really curious. Yeah.
yeah, well, it'll draw attention,
Initially.
right? Initially. And the most important thing is that they're trying. That's how you come up with good ideas. You have to go through 100 ones that suck first before you get one that's okay.
Yeah.
And you turn into something.
Yeah.
And the fact is that without Live almost being there to even be, it's just the catalyst to get them to be like, okay, we have to, because they were just sitting pretty, they were comfortable. Why
Totally.
they were making all the money in the world? Why would they try to do anything, right? It doesn't matter.
And then Scotty Scheffler this year made $62 million.
Yeah, exactly.
FedEx Cup, the Tour Championship itself, 25 this year, 25 mil, I think, or 20
Yeah.
mil, whatever it was. And that went up from 10 back in 07 when Tiger won the first one. So.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's like that with anything, right? If you have a competitor that comes in that drives you to improve, right? That's how capitalism literally works, right? That's how our market, our open market, that's the reason we have, stocks and that's the whole thing behind, what makes money flow. And it's weird if there is, and that is the case now with like the NHL, for example, right? They're trying to catch, the NHL is another thing, because you're a hockey guy. You're mostly you talk about golf on air, but I know you follow hockey, right? I'm a big fan of hockey, watching hockey. Grew up here, we're Canadians, it's our thing. But I'm sad when I watch hockey, and it's like it's such a great sport. They can turn it. I feel like they've kind of dropped the ball. The way the NHL, it's not even close when you compare it to the NBA and the MLB, and maybe it's a less popular sport, but I don't know. They have the same issue where like there are nights, and now they have a deal with Amazon, right? But there are nights where I want to watch a game that's not in my market and it's blacked out. Like why? How is that even? And obviously there are ways to watch it now, so I can still watch it.
Yeah, you can.
But
yeah,
if I want to give you my money and I want to watch a game, and there are nights where I can't watch a certain game that you like your product, how is that? Where's 2024, man? What's going on?
and that's an interesting thing too, because I mean, and you can definitely agree with this. Hockey is so much better live, like in person,
right?
But nowadays too, and this is sort of the way the media world is working. Like last night, for example, the Oilers scored on Minnesota 20 seconds into the game. There was a pass from Edmonton's own zone. It hit three different guys. Right before Marc-Andre Fleury, the puck took a crazy bounce, went through his legs. This guy's second most games played in NHL history as a goalie. One of the best ever. He gives up the worst goal of his career.
Yeah.
I could go on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now and find that a minute after it happens. So like I texted buddies like, did you see what happened in this game? They're like, no. And I looked on Twitter right away and it was there. So
it was there, yeah.
Things just happen so instantaneously where that didn't happen 10 years ago.
Right.
That's where now to watch your favorite team play, that's something in itself where blacked out markets. And
that's actually where I think, okay, so think about what you guys do at TSN. You produce a high quality, like I said, very produced show. Like a lot of money goes into making your shows look good. There's a producer yourself that plans everything. It's in depth. Whereas what the podcast content creator space, it's very much more lackluster, but that makes it much more of a smaller ship to steer. It's easier to adapt and keep up with the fast pace of things the way they are now, right? With the social, that's why it's easier for guys to go viral that have their own little podcast, because we can do a podcast right now, I'll upload it to YouTube tomorrow. I have some clips, right? And then, yeah, like on a media, like a broadcast kind of side of things, you have to approve with this guy and HR and this and that. And by the time that you're ready to post the clip, that thing's old news. You know, it's moved up. People have moved on, right? So it's I did a business course in like whatever grade 12 where there was some kind of term where like bigger businesses are harder to. Like, there's some kind of term for it, but that's essentially what I'm saying, right? That's where the drawback is. And I feel like organization, like, bigger sports networks like TSN or whatever, and even PGA Tour, they're trying right now to adapt. But at the end of the day, there will always be that divide, right? Because both exist. And I feel like that's not a bad thing. They're like, it's there. And we live in a world now where both do exist. And I personally, as a consumer, depending on what I want, what kind of conversation I want to hear or what I want to consume, I either go to my to No Laying Up, or I go to, Golf Talk Canada, depending on what kind of conversation I want to hear, right? So that's just the way it is. You don't have to, just because, they're getting more views or you're making more, you don't have to try to be the other. Just if people try to stay in their lane, that's fine. But then also you want to adapt. So I don't know. I don't fucking...
No, it's so interesting too. And even like specifically for our show, one of the things that I really like and what some of our sponsors have really liked as well is that we're 3 different demographics too.
Right. Yeah, that's
Bob's
good. Yeah.
65, Mark's 49, I'm 32. So it's 3 completely different ways to look at golf, where like I'm still a traditionalist, quote unquote, from watching and playing it, tucked in shirt and hat on. But yeah, now I like to have a few beers when I play. I like to have music going where the game isn't as sticklery, if that, or stuffy, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's morphing into our conversations now. Like we let things fly depending on what's going on. When Mark does all these rants all the time and he's not afraid to say anything. Like last week on our show, he made a comparison to someone's swing and circumcision.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Stuff like that where it's funny. Like we're not.
It is funny.
We're not crossing the line. We're just enjoying it. And, like a No Laying Up or a golf subpar or a foreplay, like they'll let things really fly, which is totally up to them. But yeah, it's a fascinating space to be in. I'm sure it'll continue to evolve and change in the next 2-3 years for sure.
And you'll see that the reason that, and I can totally speak to this, the reason that, you do have to be careful if you are working with, larger media group or whatever, just like a network, right? Is because they have sponsors and they want to keep their brand deals and their money. And that's how I make a living now too, right? But you'll see that nowadays the sponsors are also keen to, they're not stupid. They do market research. They know where numbers don't lie, right? If you're getting views saying this wild shit about golf or whatever, and they'll still pay you. Just show me, like, look how many followers I have. Look at how much engagement I'm getting. The followers don't even matter now. It's like engagement, right?
Totally, yeah.
Look, people are watching. Give me money. Yeah. I'm saying, sure. I'm saying that guy's swing looks like a, whatever, a circumcised cock, but whatever. Like that's people, obviously people agree. Give me like, right?
Totally.
Come on, TaylorMade, figure it out. But, and that's a fact, right? And it is, another thing is too, that golf was I remember when I was in high school, right? And Raph and I actually went to the same high school. We were like the only 2 guys on the golf team in our high school.
I forgot about that.
Right?
Oh,
yeah.
That's so funny.
So when I tell guys in high school that I play golf, right? Because I did martial arts before seriously, and then I got injured, and then I started playing golf competitively. And my main sport was golf. And people would be like, golf, what the heck? It's not. My buddies, right? They'd chirp me for playing golf. And now they blow up they want to play with me because I'm good, and they're obsessed with it now. They're all getting into it at this age. You look at athletes, right? Like Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, right? You ask them if they weren't, Tom Brady, if they weren't doing their sport, what would they do? Golf, right? There's something about it. When you grow, I guess, get a little more mature, you kind of get into it. And now with the pandemic, it's way more popular with kids. And I think it's because that stigma that you said, right? It's not as, button your collar and like, rich old white people at the country club. It's complete. People are realistically, golf is for degenerates, like, and also rich old white people and whoever. You're going out there. You can play by the rules for 4 hours and like, use it as a discipline thing to get better at a sport. You can go out there with your buddies, take some mulligans, get hammered, and just shoot the shit. You can do whatever you want, right? You can, there's something, it's 4 hours out in the field, no cell reception. You want to cheat on your wife? Perfect excuse, right? Whatever you want. There's something for everybody, every race, creed, color, religion, whatever.
Yeah. And it's even like talking with one of our partners, talking with Adidas recently, and we go on these trips, and like they're all about trying to get for you to wear clothing that you can wear out afterwards. Meeting fashion and function.
Yeah, what's that? The Jason Day,
Malbon.
Malbon, right? Yeah. They have a huge.
They have a big collab with Malbon. And Jason Day. I mean, what he wore at the Masters was just Malbon and that vest, which was hilarious. And his pants, which looked like they were 9 sizes too big, which looked ridiculous. But hey, it generated conversation. Everyone was talking about it, so I guarantee from that it got sales.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure, they did their job.
But like golf, like now it's like Adidas is promoting this, which I love. It's flat brim hats.
Yeah,
it's like baggier fits, high socks. Music on the golf course, these different looks that 5 years ago certainly weren't a thing in the golf space, and it's going to keep evolving, which is the most exciting part about this whole thing.
Yeah, and it is like something for me, golf, other than, obviously loving the game, and like I have a lot of friends from it, right? Like, the boys from Bayview, my boys and I play now. It's a great way. It's like a huge way. Like, where else do you kind of like, plug out and just chill for 4 hours with somebody? It's so rare now.
Totally.
Right. It's a huge thing. I was thinking about it, like the amount of time I spent with my dad, right? Like the I don't know. Without golf, we would spend like 90% less time, because like 99% of the quality time I spend with my friends who play golf and like my dad who plays golf is through golf, right? Because other than that, even if you go out for dinner or whatever, you're on your phone, right? It's weird. It's weird these days. And even this I find is because I do podcasts now, like other than like with you on the golf course, when we would play golf, we'd have conversations. But other than that, when do you actually kind of like put everything to the side and have a conversation with somebody these days? It's rare, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very refreshing thing about it.
Totally, like unplugging, right? It's good for your mental health, obviously, right? And because everyone's so glued to their phones all the time, and they want to be like everyone in social media, they want to be instantaneous with what's going on, and because whenever there's news or anything, it's there instantly, right?
Yeah, and it's different from like just whatever tennis or something, because you're not like chasing a ball around and sweating. It is more chill, more mellow, not as athletically demanding, while still being, you ask, what's the hardest thing to do in sport? Whatever, hitting a MLB pitch or hitting a straight drive. I think
hitting
like
a high nasty bomb.
Hitting a high, exactly, right? It's still challenging while giving you that opportunity to connect with someone, because you can totally like be fully into it, play to the to the most of your capabilities, and still have a regular conversation with someone in between shots. You don't have to be panting and sweating and fucking changing shirts every 3 holes, unless it's like you're
stinky
in
high.
It gets sticky. But yeah, it's all right. You get a golf cart and you're good to
Enjoy
go.
Yourself, absolutely.
Put some music on. So it is. I think people are trying to, or are starting to see how, it's not just. That there was a stigma before, I feel like, and not even just before the pandemic, that golf was like this elite thing, and it's truly not. And now because of how popular it is, right? Supply and demand, golf is getting. Some places are still very expensive to play, but you can get around, like you can get some clubs for a decent price now, and you can find a municipal course where it's it won't break you financially to get out there with your friends to play, right? It won't be Augusta, but you can still have fun.
I mean, in the end, the ball's got to go in the hole, right? So it doesn't really matter where you play. Like as long as the weather is somewhat decent, and ideally the greens are, they're rolling. Yeah,
that's the most important thing is the greens. Yeah. You can have the shittiest course, but as long as you can putt and be like, okay, it's gonna go where I hit it, and it's my fault if I miss.
Smooth.
Yeah, and I've seen that. So through your job hosting for TSN, you've got to. I keep looking at your stories, and I fucking going like, oh, this fucking guy. You're in like all these cool places, getting to play some cool golf courses. Where's the favorite place you've been to?
The logo right here.
Augusta National. You got to play?
I didn't get to play.
Okay.
No. So there is a media draw actually that happens every year. So it's the Monday after. And I think there's 4 or 5 foursomes maybe.
Nice.
And it's all media.
One day.
Sunday pins. You have to
Unreal.
keep the pins in the same spot. You get a caddy. So I did not win that.
Yeah.
It was my first time going. I got to go. So the really cool thing, so I was there. We flew in the Saturday before the tournament. And I was back on a plane on the Tuesday. So I wasn't there for the actual tournament. I was back here hosting shows, which was actually, I think, better for my first time there.
Yeah.
So I was there on the Sunday, waited in the merch line.
Nice.
Which is, what's the average spend there? It's like $800 or $900 American.
Jesus.
Per person. I spent just under $8.
Wow.
And
is everything marked up super high? Like, are the prices?
It's not cheap, definitely, but it's not like overly expensive.
Because I know the food prices are
they're insane. It's like $1.50 for the pimento cheese. Not as bad as people say.
Really?
Pimento cheese. Okay. It's not amazing, but it's not,
Fair enough.
I had one because you have to have one. But no, so I was there the Sunday, so the drive, chip, and putt.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. The rest of the course was closed, but I got to like walk up and down where that was. And then on the Monday morning practice round, what I wanted to do the whole time was walk the whole golf course.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people there, but I did it alone.
Yeah.
I took 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I walked it from 1 to 18 because people had said, "Oh, do it backwards." I'm like, no, I want to get the whole experience.
Yeah.
And you've watched the Masters forever.
Yeah.
You've always heard everyone says TV doesn't do it justice. And like I've always heard that too. And I was like, yeah, sure, maybe. But it is so hilly.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to think I'm fairly fit.
Right.
My shins were sore for 3 days.
Just walking up and down. Yeah.
Now I did a lot up and down. And I got to the back of 16 of the tees where I was as close as I could get to the back of the tee.
Imagine Tiger hobbling around with his
dude. I don't know how
triple
he did that.
reconstructed foot. Yeah, that's insane, right?
And seeing him.
Yeah.
So he is still the one athlete who I get totally starstruck by.
Yeah.
Totally starstruck.
How close did you get to him?
So I got closer to him at the US Open.
Okay.
Like I walked where we were, where the media center was, where we walked to like the press room was right through the Champions parking lot. And there was one, I think it was the Wednesday afternoon where he walked right past us. But it's crazy with him, bit of a side tangent, but with him, how different his body looked from April to June.
In what way?
In April, he looked like a bodybuilder. His upper body, because he can't push as hard off his right leg now, right?
I noticed that. When I was even through again, right? TV doesn't always, especially with physiques, it's easy to like, what you wear, the way the camera angle is, but I noticed when I was watching after he came back from his injury, he looked jacked.
Yeah.
I'm sure because that's like the only thing. He's such a competitor. He has to do something, right? And his leg was injured, so he couldn't do much. So he was just bench every single day.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Well, and he was saying that he would, because he played, was it 2 years ago? Recently, on this latest comeback, he played at Riv.
Yeah.
And was out driving Rory.
Yeah.
And he was saying it's all core strength.
Yeah.
Anyway, so obviously he changed his body. He just had another back surgery. Hopefully he could be playing in the father-son in December.
Yeah, that would be cool to see. At this point, whatever. It's just, hope he stays healthy and happy.
But Augusta itself, like the really cool thing we just talked about, not having your phone.
Yeah.
You can't have your phone out there.
Right, that's cool, yeah.
So like there were so many times where like you've been to golf courses and you're like, oh man, what a cool view. I'll take a photo.
Yeah,
You'll get it after you're like,
and at tournaments, right? Everybody when they're swinging, like you have the
I know,
phones
it's like no
up,
one's
right?
ever gonna watch that. Like you'll post that on Instagram and get whatever interaction, but who really cares, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's the cool thing to walk around.
You just get to absorb.
Yeah, and see people like take it all in. Like I was taking it all in and seeing some of the views. Like you stand on, like I stood at Amen Corner, and like the 12th green. I mean, you can't get all the way there.
Yeah,
but it looks like this little sliver, and like the approach into 9 and 18, how uphill that is. Like I had a whole note on my phone, and I took notes on every hole after the fact when I could have my phone back. And it was honestly like the most mind-boggling experience of my life. And I just walked it. Yeah. Now I'm a golf nerd for all nerddom, but that was probably one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Yeah. Going to Augusta.
Yeah. And getting, because it's something where I obviously wanted to go forever. And then hosting a show from there was really cool because the way it works, like people watch Golf Channel's coverage all week. So it goes, and our set's like right on the side of the range, really. So it's ESPN, TSN, Golf Channel, like all beside each other. So people are like revolving in and out, and so it's and even like the grass. Like when people say like it looks fake, like it looks fake.
Yeah.
And it's not like you touch it. It's not fake grass, but it's just so well manicured.
Yeah.
It's such a cool operation there, and hopefully get to go back hopefully next year.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a dream, man. That's sick. Just go in there and hopefully you get to play it. I wish that I feel like that's one on the bucket list. I love golf. I love playing, but I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm like a super golf nerd in that sense that like, oh, I want to play this course. I would love to play all those courses. I don't really. Yeah. But Augusta's one of the ones that's like, that's one I want to play one day, or just go and watch the tournament. But mostly I want to play. I want to be able to like hit some shots there.
And like they've got the video game out now, so you can see. Yeah. And some of the greens, like dude, the undulation. Is remarkable at Augusta. And then I had a great experience. Shortly after, I got an invite to play with Adidas at Pinehurst.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw that too.
7 weeks before the U.S. Open.
Yeah, that's sick. And before Bryson's win.
Yeah, and so the really funny thing about that was like it was a partner tournament, but it was a tournament. And so it was a pro, like a head golf professional, and then 3 AMs all on a team. And like they're all like Team Adidas, so it's like head pros all over the United States. We had a guy out in BC, this beauty. But we had a practice round at number 2. So there's 10 courses at number 2. I'm sorry, at Pinehurst. 10 and so we played number 2, which is the most famous. Yeah. Practice round, tournament round, then played number 4. And they told us the first day, it was like, oh yeah, the greens are running, pins are in some easier spots. And so we went out and played pretty well. And then tournament day, they cranked the greens up. I think they were like 13.
Jeez,
and tucked the pins. And then you can really see when the U.S. Open was there, like the shot Bryson hit
on 18,
55 yards out was crazy.
Insane.
And then the putt that Rory missed 2 putts in the last 3 holes. The one on 16,
not as straightforward as people think.
Yeah. But the one on 18, like that thing was greasy.
Yeah.
And it was so hot that week. Like there were heat warnings all week. Like I barely went out and walked the golf course because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And when it gets so hot, like the greens can get a little
just baked out.
Yeah. Greasy, fast and
hard. So it's hard to like stop it. And then when you're
and even like Rory's mistake was the par 3. I think it was 15. He tried to like saw off the 7-iron that just flew over the green.
He hit that push fade, right?
Yeah, he should just, obviously hindsight and 1 club down and swing hard, and you probably win the U.S. Open. But,
yeah. What do you think about Rory's run for the putt? He's had some bad luck, but at a certain point, it's like he's still like a legend, star. Hall of Fame career, but like it's crazy to think of Rory as like what could have been. Given how successful he is. Can you imagine? You feel bad for the guy,
to pop off 4 majors in the span that he did from 2011 to 14.
So remember, that's when I was just getting into golf, and I Rory I was like, this guy is like the Tiger Woods of my generation. I was so, and then
and he's had all these peaks and valleys, and he just won his 6th Race to Dubai title.
Yeah, he's playing great.
And
it's truly some kind of weird curse.
It is. I even said on our show, and I've always been a Rory optimist because he's just so talented.
Yeah.
And like I always tell people too, going to a tournament, like who's the most impressive player to see live? It's Rory.
Yeah.
Because he's not tall.
Yeah.
Like, he is a lot shorter than you would think.
Yeah.
And the speed he generates. But I said in our show last week that at some point he's going to pop off. And I think when he wins a major, it's going to be too quickly. Like it was in 14 when he won back-to-back. And
get the monkey off his back.
Yeah. Get it done. And I mean, what happened at Pinehurst Bryson, I mean, sure, Rory lost the tournament, but Bryson hit a
unreal shot
on 18. And for Rory, he's made these swing changes. I'm not sure how much you heard or read into this.
I have heard about the swing changes. He's like, he was a little across the line, right?
But it was more how he did it. So he locked himself into a golf simulator. Didn't lock himself into it, but he didn't look at his ball flight for 3 weeks.
So
he didn't know how far he was hitting the ball.
Okay.
He was only looking at his swing. And so that's something that I hadn't heard of before.
Interesting, yeah.
So because he was saying, because he did a lot of interviews about this, because people were like, oh, you did this? That's interesting. Because he said if he sees a ball fly one way or the other in practice, he can figure out how to hit it the other way pretty easily because he's so talented. But he was just focusing on a swing itself and trying to get it on the line. So he would take a lot of swings where he would be at address, take it to sort of here, pause, make sure he was on plane with,
right.
I think he had a lineman stick this way, and then go from there. So like he was hitting, when he won the race to Dubai, 72nd hole, he hit this almost like a stinger driver. Like it didn't go very high. 184 miles an hour of ball speed with a chippy driver. And went like 340. And when he's trying to eliminate the left miss, he's trying to hit more of a cut. And in competition, he was hitting 194 ball speed.
The left miss. I have to think about that because I'm a lefty.
Right. Yeah. So the hook. Which is something that is really.
That's why I said cut. So that's what he did when he messed up on 15. He hit that pull draw. It wasn't a hook. It was like just a pull.
And he was trying to saw off an iron and double crossed it a bit and went a little left. But we know he has these towering drives and people have said maybe he needs a new caddy, but Rory has always backed his caddy throughout all this. And I mean, for his year, like every other player, I mean, Scotty Scheffler had an historic season. Xander Schauffele won 2 majors. On the women's side, Nelly Korda had one of the best seasons in LPGA Tour history. But Rory's like right behind there. He won 3 times. He still had a great season, but people, because he is who he is.
And he didn't win a major.
Victim of his own success. People are going to remember 24 for him as the U.S. Open that got away.
That's for sure. I think, we'll see what happens. The big swing change, maybe 25 is going to be his year. I hope, man. I'd love to see him win. It'd
be awesome. It
see
really
him,
would.
Like, and then, just even thinking back, man, like the U.S. Open and then the Open at St. Andrews.
That
Cam
was
Smith brutal. Cam Smith.
9.
And like if you keep going back every year, he had a close call. I think at a major. I feel like for like the past since it's been what was his last win?
2014 PGA.
10 years.
I
Crazy.
know, which is and like totally different guy, and obviously a lot happened with him off the golf course this year, which appears to be back on track. Which good for him and that. But he had so many close calls at the Masters too. He had the duel with Patrick Reed in 18, right? Like
and that's another thing. Like off the golf course, he had that whole like thing with his family and his wife, but like also like the situation that the PGA Tour put him in with Liv, that was they screwed him big time. I think that was so. That wasn't cool.
And he took so much on his play, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's seeing some of his good buddies go over to live, like John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton and Ian Poulter and Sergio and Paul Casey.
I'm sure he got a nice deal.
He claims, Rory claims he never got an offer, but who knows with that? But when he sees John Rahm take $500 million allegedly, now it looked like Rahm really regretted that, but in terms of going over, but Rahm still played decently well this year. Hopefully we get some sort of reunion.
That's the thing. I think it will happen. And again, like I'm from an outsider perspective, when that whole thing was going down, it was going down a while. I still remember talking about it at Bayview when I was there. So like I never like that whole thing they tried to push with like, Saudi money, whatever. I'm like, if you look back at it, all of your like the PGA Tour sponsors, if you trace it far back enough, it's all this. The money's coming from the same place.
Other sports too.
My God. It's obviously that was just a narrative they were trying to push because of the situation at hand. But whenever people were shitting on these guys, usually over social media, just keyboard warriors going like, how could you do this, man? You can't go to. I'm like, dude, if anybody offered you like. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. If any offered you fucking $10,000, you do. Who knows what you would, right? Like it's don't. I do not for 1 second. If I was in this situation, and that's the thing about pro sports. You and I, we've been at Bayview. We've played with like Russell, but we know how good these guys are, and how hard it is to make it as a professional golfer. If somebody offered you that kind of stability, I'd take it like that. I'm not even thinking about myself. I don't care what you think. My family, my kids, their kids. It's generational wealth done. Well, I do not fault those guys for a second for taking that money.
In any walk of life, let's say for you, let's say for me, if we're offered 4 or 5x more than we currently make, we'd be dumb to say no.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, of course you would say yes.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys have gotten. And when people look at Liv, sure, the product is interesting and they got music playing, but and they don't draw very
And they
many
got Bert
people.
Kreischer out there.
Yeah,
But exactly, that's the thing. I've never watched a live tournament in my life. I've watched a few highlights and seen all the things they've done. As a fan, I'm happy that it happened, because even though the regular, they have these marquee events now, which is fine, but as long as all these guys are still coming together 4 times a year for the majors, and we have now, right, the entire this spilled over not only into tournament golf but the entire industry, right? Like we have all the stuff with social media going on. Like everybody now is trying to it pushed the entire golf industry to try to do better, to grow the game. They're all those commercials about grow the game. Well, they grew the game, which is good, I think, overall. Too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fine, whatever. I don't care. I'm not seeing a cent of that. I'm just, as a fan, it definitely grew the game. I think there's positives and negatives to everything, but I think in a mostly positive way. And I think like 10 years down the line, who knows? Maybe they'll merge, maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, I think mostly good things happen from it. We got Bryson's whole arc out of it. I think if they again, as long as the majors aren't affected, and I don't know,
that's the big one.
What's happening now with that?
Status quo, like nothing's changed. Like, it's harder to get into the majors, obviously, with world
for the live
ranking
guys.
Points. But even like last year, PGA of America, who runs the PGA Championship, gave exemptions to like Joaquin Niemann, who had a really good start.
Right.
To qualify for the Masters, it's world ranking points, or top 50 in the world at the end. So for this year, at the end of 24, if you're top 50 in the world, you're in the Masters for 2025. If you've won the Masters before, if you've won a major in the last 5 years, you get into the majors for the next 5 years. So Bryson's in all of the majors for the next 5 years, regardless of if he never wins on live again, doesn't play golf anymore. He's in the next 5 major champion.
Because he won. Right? Yeah, so that's great. But and you see. That's why, honestly, I kind of when the majors come around now, I hope that at least either the live guy will win or like they'll be up there, because that's still solidified. Like that pushes the narrative, and therefore, the brass that are making these decisions to go, okay, we need to do something, because these guys are obviously still the best in the world.
Yeah.
Right. The argument is that, okay, sure, maybe they got so much money. A guy like DJ, right? Maybe not as motivated. He fell off. Sure, whatever. But most of these guys are still like fierce competitors, and they don't. Yeah, right. Yeah, working his ass off. He came back from that knee injury or whatever to win the PGA. So obviously these guys are still players. Oh, the thing that's coming up, that'll be exciting to watch. Koepka and
I'm interested. So it's like it's Koepka and Bryson against Scheffler and Rory.
That'll be great. That's live versus PGA. I like that.
Yeah. So December 17th. I mean, these matches have been sort of hokey pokey. Like the first one was Tiger and Phil.
That's the first one. I watched that one. Ever since then, I kind of tuned out. But this one I'm interested in.
Did you come here to watch that? Maybe
I might have. Yeah.
I remember I hosted something here. I remember that. But and like it's something different. The best one of the matches was in COVID, when it was Tiger and Peyton Manning against Phil and Tom Brady. Yeah. And this was like May of 2020, maybe just around your hole in one, actually. Yeah. And like sports weren't really happening, and it was Tom Brady. Tom Brady was awful for 6 holes. Like couldn't hit the planet.
I remember that.
Hold up for eagle, rip his pants, right? So I mean, like the match will be interesting. I mean, all the guys like Bryson and Koepka had their whole spat a couple of years ago when they didn't like each other, but I think they're fine now. Bryson's a different guy, clearly.
He is, yeah. Oh, I don't think he's a different guy. I think he's just being himself. I think truly, I think what that was before, and again, as an entertainer, I can kind of speak to this. You have expectation. You're like, he was a golfer, but as a professional athlete, you're also an entertainer, right?
You have to be.
And I think he was playing into a character that he wasn't necessarily. Now, the great thing about having a YouTube channel and all these long form, half an hour, 40-minute videos where he's doing break 50s, you can't lie. You can't put on a mask for that long. And well, you can, but people still get to see glimpses of the real you. Totally. So now I think he was always this guy. Just he tried to he was leaning a little too heavy into that science. He's just a dude. Sure, he's a nerd. I have a master's in me too, but I'm also just a dude.
Yeah.
He was leaning a little bit too heavily into that, like, I'm a nerd. I trust physics and this and that and right. And then slowly things started to happen, right? I think that was the peak of his villain arc where he was the bad guy against Brooks. Brooks was like the chill guy.
Yeah.
And Bryson was the weird nerd that was like, metal spikes.
One plane swing.
One plane swing. And then he got jacked and started hitting bombs, and everybody was like, okay, that's cool. That took him a step away from that, but he did it in his own nerdy way, which is cool. By like workout regimen. This is what I do.
7
These are
protein shakes a day.
activate the glutes. Couldn't have been good for his heart, but whatever. And then he kind of backed off of that. Okay, now I have the swing speed. He did the live thing, so that was like a teetering point. Like he's a bad guy, but he's kind of getting better now. He won that COVID US Open.
Yep. And
now he starts his YouTube channel. People are like, what's going on with this guy? He's kind of cool. He had that whole thing with the sign at the Masters. Like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Was it at the Masters where maybe the peak of his villain arc was when he like ran into the rope or whatever.
Oh, that was on live. That was on live.
Okay.
Clotheslined. Yeah, that was
he got clotheslined and he's like, what the hell? What was that? He went all diva.
Oh yeah.
And then it started to go up for him, right? He was already on live, and that didn't help his image, but then he started the YouTube channel. He won the US Open, and people were like, all right, this guy's cool, right?
Totally.
So that's a good thing. And then you're learning, I think my favorite golfer is Joel Damon. I love that guy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The story about when Russell was playing the Canadian Open?
On 11 at Glen Abbey?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Amazing. The guy is so cool. That's what made me love him. We were like, on 11 at Glen Abbey, huge dip on a par 4. And this guy, he's on the cut line, and he sets up to the ball on the cut line. You wouldn't even be able to tell that he has to like at this point when a guy, I don't know, he's not exactly Rory McIlroy caliber, so he needs to make money. If you make the cut, it's $0. If you miss the cut, $0. If you make the cut, that's like $20K in the bank, right? So couldn't tell that he was playing for that. He was teetering on the cut line. He sets up, it's 11 at this point, and he sets up to this par 4. A leaf blows onto his driver, and without even like getting out of his setup, his caddy comes, grabs the leaf, pulls the trigger right down the middle.
Really? I didn't hear that part.
You didn't hear it?
No, I heard a different part. I think it was the same hole.
Where
on the green.
On the green, yeah. So same hole on the green, hits it down the middle, hits an approach shot to like, I don't know, 5-6 feet, very makeable. And the way that hole is set up, you can't see the green when he's putting, and his wife was following him. I was following Russell, who was in his group. So he hits the putt, and the only thing you can tell whether he made it or missed is his reaction. So he goes like, oh, like, and then his wife is like, whatever. He's like, oh, okay, that sucks. And then she checks her app and says he made it, and she just looks at him like, what the hell? He's like, yeah, I was fucking with you. He's like, yeah, it's such a cool guy. Yeah.
And that, he was on the Netflix series.
Yeah, that was before the Netflix series,
Way
right?
before that with his caddy, Gino Pinelli.
So that's the thing, right? So that's people, again, that whole entire thing, that made me a fan of him, but there were only like, at that, I was following Russell. That's why I didn't even know who this guy was before then. And that whole, series of events made me a fan, but there was only like 10 people following the group that day.
Yeah.
And then the Netflix thing comes out, and now he's like a fan favorite, right?
And now he's grinding for his card. He's 125 on the FedEx Cup right now this week at RSM, trying to, as we record, try to keep his card.
His card, yeah. Well, that's what I mean, right? With the golf content, like I'm sure at this point, whether he keeps it or not, he can start a YouTube channel. Brian's Bros, right? They're also like grinders on it. Yeah. So they're an interesting example. Whereas they're very successful golf content creators. Who's the guy that actually had like a solid stint who won on tour? Wesley. Yeah. So Wesley Bryan. I wonder if he's made more from his content or from. Probably because he's won a few times. That's a big paycheck.
And he's played well in the fall, like in the last couple of weeks too. Like he shot 61 last week in Bermuda. So
insane.
He's playing good golf.
He's a player.
They just did a thing at Bethpage,
right,
where they're trying to like make the cut, where when the PGA was there in 2019, the cut was 4 over.
Oh, okay.
And it's Wesley and George, his other brother, who's very good. Like I would say George's swing is better than Wesley's. Like,
Yeah.
Shorter guy and just like really accelerates. And Grant Horvat, who's got the silkiest swing of the content creators, and maybe not.
Yeah, he does have a nice swing. I don't know if is he also trying to like do Monday qualifiers or stuff?
He's done it, maybe not like actual Monday qualifiers. He's played in some tournaments, I think, or he plays these matches with Phil and Rom where he starts at 5 under.
Right.
And plays them. So, I mean,
he's a great player. Yeah.
He's a really good player. My God.
Yeah, it is insane how good you have to be to make money at that level.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Like my last round here, I have to toot my own horn, but I was 4 under standing on 12T, which I've never been that at Bayview.
That's crazy, yeah.
And I just felt like I was going to vomit for 5 holes because I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Got it in the house at 1 under, but
still cool. You held on to it.
Hacked it around for a couple holes.
Yeah. Oh, good old Bayview. I miss Bayview, man. I got to come play next year.
Absolutely. We should do a walk and we should do some golf content.
Yeah, no, I would love to. We'll talk a little bit more about it off camera, but I've been gearing. I posted a few skits, but like I want to do a lot of things. But there's like for sure. Cause the whole space is there are so many, like I said, golf is so popular now. You can fill so many niches. You can have a nice like, I'm a comedian, but I play golf, and I might not necessarily be the best golfer, but there are guys like what's that guy, Fat Perez? He's fucking dirty. They're funny.
All the
Country
guys
club
foreplay.
adjacent, foreplay.
They're not that good at like Frankie. I'd say is the best one. He's probably I'd say a 6 or 7 handicap. Like they do this whole series with Trent, and Trent's broken 90, which like I watch some of those and they're hilarious, but they're not
great on the mic.
Golf, right?
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of comedians that are golfers, man. We'll see. I'll make my way up to Austin, make some friends, and there's guys like I know Andrew Santino is a huge golfer.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a big golfer. Tony Hinchcliffe plays golf. Like
Tony plays. I love Kill Tony.
Yeah, you're a fan.
That show's hilarious.
Nice, good. Yeah, it's a great show. It's crazy what they've done. But yeah, so there's a lot of golfers that play out in Austin, man. I can't wait. I'm going probably in like February.
Wow.
It's gonna be some good weather. I want to bring my clubs, but it's affordable there too. Like the prices aren't that bad.
Are you
Golf is
huge. Get in the bucket at Kill Tony?
At Kill Tony? I'll try to get in the bucket.
There you go.
Yeah.
They had someone from Edmonton there.
Yeah, just now.
Recently.
Denny Martinello.
Yeah,
Denny Martinello.
He sounded Canadian too.
He sounded very Canadian. Another guy they just had, Andrew Packer, killed it on Kill Tony. He's a guy, Toronto guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on the podcast like a month ago.
Yeah.
Andrew Packer, huge shout out. Killed it on Kill Tony. That they're blowing up. that was close with his whole Puerto Rico thing. If Trump. So Tony opened a Trump rally. He opened. He did it, and it was
the one at MSG.
Yeah, the one at MSG. Yeah. If Trump didn't win, that would have been tough for his mental health. But he won, and now Kill Tony's bigger than ever, baby.
My
so
God. Yeah, crazy.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. It was fun to talk.
Thanks for having me, man.
Good to see you. First time in a while, man.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug or just?
I'm trying to think. I mean, busy time of year.
Yeah.
Watch my ugly mug on SportsCenter, Golf Talk Canada, and this Movember mustache. This is why I got this thing going. Another
nice
10 days of this or so. We've raised almost $4,500 on Golf Talk Canada.
Sick.
So,
nice.
Yeah, Movember's our official men's health partner on the show. So,
awesome.
Big time to always talk about mental health, prioritize it, and but no, it's been fun, man. Really fun.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.